Yeah, quick I do. Be warned. This chapter contains a mature scene. Carlos arrived for our first official wedding later that night, priest in tow. It was just the four of us, with Genevieve crying with glee as our witness. I was in pain, barely on my feet in my tight gown, but I somehow managed to stand in front of Carlos without a struggle. He gripped both of my hands in his while we stood before the priest, the fire igniting within me once again at his mere touch. My body is quaking with anticipation, so much so I can barely recite my vows properly. I say it prematurely due to my nervousness. Carlos chuckles. Eager, are we? Why not? I need to. Put out the fire? I can understand that Carlos says with his own jaw clenched. I can smell it. His eyes are filled with intense lust while my cheeks turn ruby red from embarrassment. I don't want him to necessarily smell my arousal, but it's certainly helping him speed things up. All right, let's hurry this up, Genevieve interjects loudly. I do. Carlos quips quickly. Now we're married. Are we not? He turns anxiously to the priest, who nods erratically. Carlos grabs both sides of my face and kisses me hard and quick to claim me as his bride. Excitement bubbles over in my stomach before it is even over, despite how brief it is. He pulls away just as quick, only turning to his sister to grin from ear to ear before looping his arms under my legs to lift me up bridal style. I let out a squeal while Genevieve ushers us out of her little room and out into the hallway. My heart skips a beat as he carries me down the hallway. He laughs at my uneasiness and tickles my sides to release the tension. The kingdom has been made aware of the royal wedding. The real one, he whispers excitedly to me as he approaches his bedroom door. Then, the entire kingdom will know you as their princess and queen-to-be. He pauses seductively. Not to mention ... 9. I bite my lip nervously at the thought of having such importance. I knew this was coming, but everything feels so surreal ... perhaps even a little bit too perfect. Despite all the thoughts running through my head since I spoke with Genevieve, I can't allow my suspicions to ruin my first wedding and Carlos' mood. He's far too happy now for me to bring up the subject of the beast, and the fact that I believe he's lying to me because he may or may not be under the beast's influence and not even know it. My smile falters as my worries persist, but I force it to vanish when he sets me down in his room. Would you like anything before we get started, he remarks, already removing his tie rashly. I hiccup worriedly but shake my head. I'll be absolutely fine. I have only one thing ailing me. Carlos nods seriously, his eyes absolutely consumed by mine as he stands before me. Disheveled and half undressed already. His tie is tossed on the floor and his jacket is halfway off of his shoulders. It is absolutely hypnotizing. The same ails me, he whispers huskily, propelled forward by his newfound purpose. He grasps me to him, as if he wished to consume me completely. His mouth covers mine, and he begins kissing me in a way I had never before kissed. Of course, I must have kissed him like this last night, but I can't remember for the life of me. Either way, it feels amazing. He is kissing me with a possessive passion that makes my entire body ache for him. I am fighting every urge to savagely attack him before he can get me to the bed at his own pace. I can't go about it like that. That's not at all how I pictured myself as a lover. Then again, I never pictured this happening for me at all. Married to a werewolf, and a werewolf myself. Not to mention he's also a prince, and I'm being driven by my own heat to mate with him like an animal. Driven by a heat caused by the beast to hurry us up. A beast that also mind controls my unknowing husband. How will I ever be able to tell him? Perhaps I might be wrong ... But if I am mistaken, Carlos would be lying to me upon his own free will, which is much worse now that I've begun to trust him just a little bit. That would mean he has taken sides with the beast, and the beast only made me forget last night. Knocking me out of my daydream, Carlos tosses me gently back on his insanely soft bedsheets and pins me down by holding himself on top of me, one arm on either side of me. I blush when his eyes graze up and down my body before meeting my eyes once again. My body is still concealed, but now I'm thinking of all the things he saw last night already. Now I'll have to face his reaction. He shushes me when he notices my dismay. It's all right, Charlotte. Of course you're beautiful, he kisses down my collarbone, perfectly teasing me without even having to undress me. Taking the first step, I shyly sit myself up and turn my back to him. Undo me, I calmly command him. He obliges without a word, ever so slowly releasing me from my dress. When every tie is finally loosened, I slip the sleeves off of my shoulders and let the dress fall to my hips, my bare back still facing him. I bite my lip urgently as I feel his hands slide down my waist. Stand up, he coos softly. I do, and allow the dress to slip past my hips. I step out of it, still facing away. I still have more undergarments, so I pull those down as well until I am bare-bottomed with my husband. I slowly turn on my heel to face him, only to see that he is undressed already while he waited. I inhale sharply as I take in Carlos' caramel-skinned body. He smirks at my reaction and grabs my waist with both of his hands, pulling me towards him. He lays me back on the bed again and climbs on top of me as he kisses me once again, his tongue warmly meeting mine. I moan against his lips while my entire body is burning up waiting for him. Please, I moan against his lips. I believed he knew what I was insinuating. We have our entire marriage to fool around, but I need to stop the fire already. I didn't have to ask twice. Now, should I go slow and gentle, he asks, unsure. Just do it, I writhe underneath him until he quickly positions himself to please me. The pain of him entering me is practically nothing in comparison to what I was already going through. All I feel is pleasure right from the beginning, the fire immediately extinguishing once he's inside of me. I grip his shoulders, my nails digging into his skin against my will. I wanted to act like a lady for some foolish, insecure reason, but instead I only screamed obscenities at him. His eyes widened with both shock and desire. Hearing me desperately scream at him to go harder would be a shock for him, for sure. Oh God, he moans before striking up a perfect rhythm. He pounds into me, releasing pleasure through me I've never previously experienced. I writhe against him and throw back my head as he finally stops, shaking on top of me. Oh God, indeed I can only laugh while he rolls off of in his own stunned state. We may be doing a lot of that, Carlos groans, staring at the ceiling. I can only laugh, but I am blissfully happy enough at the moment to forget my worries. One of the last few. We make love several more times throughout the rest of the day and night, Carlos scarcely leaving my side. I couldn't blame him, I didn't want to leave his side either. It was like a fairy tale, truly perfect and undeniable ... but secretly my heart sinks at the possibility that it all a lie. We are nothing but pawns in the hands of the beast, playing with and controlling our emotions and actions with ease while we believe ourselves to be free. Part of me expects that we are all his pawns despite the illusion that we are free ... but then again, something in me believes that it can't quite be true. Something I can't quite remember ... plus I hope to God that Genevieve is free. I would hate for her to stay in hiding for no reason. Oh God, I wish I knew the things I would wonder about before all of this, but it's too late now. After a while, I have to ask Carlos, "Do you know anything about my father now?" He perks up immediately at my question and then shows his disappointment immediately after. I don't really know much. All I know is that he is no longer in the care of the beast. I don't know where he was released or when. I frown and look out the window at the kingdom, almost as if I was looking for him and his little tailored suit in the streets. And what of my stepmother and stepsisters? Exiled, still he simply answers, "Just as you wanted." I sigh deeply. You don't know where they are either? Would your father not be able to tell you? I turn to him questionably. I could ask him if you really want to know. He backs away slowly, sensing my anger ... and surprisingly respecting it. Sorry, I had assumed you wouldn't want any further information on them. Yes, please ask. I simply request before laying down under the messy covers of our bed. I would like to know that they are at least established somewhere else ... safe and all. They still deserve a life. All right, consider it done. You rest. I'll ask him as soon as I see him. He kisses my forehead and departs then, leaving me to my own thoughts. I awake during the night, inhaling my breath, as if being startled by something. I could have sworn something was happening right in my bedroom, but I only saw darkness. I struggled to catch my breath while I searched the room. With my now heightened sight, I could clearly see that there was no one. Looking to my side revealed that not only was there no intruder ... but also no husband. Carlos is gone as well. I throw on one of my nightgowns and stomp out of the bedroom. I hadn't a clue why, but I was instantly furious. I didn't need a husband that was sneaking about in the night. especially when I was already suspicious to begin with. I run down the balcony hurriedly and walk barefoot across the cold marble floor of the ballroom. I can hear the faint sound of whispers coming from the back entrance by the garden, and I hurry my pace. I rip open the back doors then, not giving a care in the world for whether or not they notice me. It could be the king, the queen, two people I have not met, but I don't care. As soon as I see it, I can't believe my eyes. Right there before me stands Carlos at the fountain at which we met, speaking to horrid beast himself. A warm hand clasps itself around my mouth and pulls me back inside before my roar of anger could come out. I instantly panic and wiggle against the body. Now, who is this? A servant? A guard trying to protect me? No, it was neither. It was even more embarrassing. The king sighs as he finally gets me to face him. You need to be quiet, Charlotte. You can't walk in on their meetings. My mouth flies open in both disgust and shock at meeting him like this. I stutter. Hold on, you know my name, I question nervously. He tugs me farther away from the back entrance and back to the ballroom. Come, to the library, where we can speak in private. My mouth remained open. I was being invited somewhere with the king to speak in private. I was unbelievably nervous, especially since I had just married his son without his presence. Finally, he tugs me into the library and securely shuts the door behind us. He stressfully runs his hands through his surprisingly thick hair and after a pause, turns and faces me. I already know everything, Charlotte. No need to feel terrible about it. I wince. How do you know? You smell like him. I assume you had your heat suddenly. I wince even more. I did ... and I didn't want to let it go as an unmarried woman. It's fine, he waves it off impatiently. It is almost always like that, though I never told Carlos how hurried I married his mother. We never want to carry on the ridiculous, lust-induced tradition, but it always ends up that way. I frown and look at him coldly. So the beast is always this impatient. Always, he turns to me sadly. I take this in sadly and wait for him to continue while he paces even more impatiently. See, can you tell me what is going on? I finally murmured, afraid to be intrusive. We have met already, Charlotte, he suddenly blurts. But it appears, from your lack of recognition of me, that you don't remember. I groan sadly. I suspected so. He pauses and comes closer to me. You noticed. I certainly did notice the sudden memory gap. Yes, I answer as a matter of fact. I could only imagine an idiot not noticing. He grins with relief. Ah, that is very good. Very good. That means we have a chance. What does that mean? Have a chance at what? I interject with worry. He turns to me seriously and takes both of my hands in his with contained excitement. The beast is controlling us again. I don't know if we were ever free, but what I do know now is that he is taking that freedom back. Werewolf by werewolf. He's taken Carlos nearly entirely. Since Carlos believed he was never in any danger to lose that freedom, he never knew to fight it. He looks into my eyes intensely. So, now I'm telling you. My eyes widen in astonishment. I'm telling you that you have to fight it before our whole purpose is diminished. You are one of the last few that has a chance. False claims and promises. Shaking my head, I back away from the king in denial. No, he can't be under his control. While I suspected it, I still couldn't imagine it actually being true. I wasn't just a paranoid new wife. I was right. Can't we stop it? Can't we help him gain control again? I whimpered desperately, no longer embarrassed. The king lets his head fall in defeat. No. Otherwise I would do it. Trust me. I would. He looks up to me again with small tears in his eyes. You and I, we are the same. The same, I whisper sadly. How? We are stronger. Somehow. I don't know why, but the beast tried controlling us and it didn't entirely work. I have been this way for a long time. That must be why I still remember while you do not, but you're still resisting, otherwise you wouldn't have been able to walk in on them like that. The king exclaims. I slowly accept this and run a stressful hand through my messy hair as well, hating myself for looking so unpresentable in his presence. You said I was walking in on one of their meetings. Yes, that is how he maintains the control. He often visits and speaks to him in secret. I have only recently noticed, so I don't know how long it has been going on. The king responds, heavy-hearted. What do you think Carlos says in these meetings? I ask with dread. Let's just assume ... whatever we tell Carlos, the beast knows without a doubt, the king says seriously. Out of everyone in the entire castle, we can only assume that we are each other's only ally. The queen is gone as well. This fact clearly is taking a hefty toll on him, and I nod sadly and respectively in response. Though ... it may not be quite too late for someone else in the castle, I gasp. A jolt of worry rushes through me. Anything Carlos knows, the beast could easily know. Genevieve. I rush away, the king following close behind me in a confused state. Oh God, why couldn't I have known about this sooner? Was Carlos not telling his parents about his sister hiding here because the beast compelled him to keep it a secret? If what the king says is true, he wouldn't have put her in any danger. But ... that could also mean the exact opposite. I stop in my tracks and turn to the king. How can I trust you? He stops and appears startled, but not completely offset. What can I do that would convince you? I narrow my eyes. Tell me what happened to my father. He furrows his brows thoughtfully. All I know is that he was in the custody of the beast ... but all I know is what was told to me by Carlos. I sigh and let my arms fall in defeat. There is absolutely no one that I can trust. And what of my stepmother and stepsister? Are they really in exile? The king shakes his head. Not that I know of. So either Carlos never told him, or the king is under the beast's control and has been lying this entire conversation. One thing is for certain, the king is right about one thing. I am not under the beast's control any longer. And I will remember what happened that night. You know what, never mind. I've had an absolutely exhausting day ... I'd like to head to bed. If I may be excused, I only murmur, curtsying to the king. He appears disappointed but curtly nods and silently turns away, walking away in stunned quietness. I hurry down the hallway after he's out of sight and quickly approach Genevieve's door. I lift up my hand to knock. I should warn her ... but if Carlos truly is under the beast's control ... and I've certainly had physical proof of it before my eyes ... then she may already be gone. Weakly, I let my hand fall. My chin trembles in defeat and worry as I turn to walk down the hallway back to my bedroom. Inevitable tears flood my cheeks as I solemnly approach the doorway. How can I trust anything? Can I trust anything I see? Was that even Carlos that I saw, or was it just a trick to fill my head with doubts? Maybe the beast is just messing with me so that I give up ... Everything feels so helpless already, after all. Perhaps this night has not even happened. What I do know is that if there wasn't a crack in the beast's system, I wouldn't doubt everything. I would be under his spell and not doubt a thing. That does bring other questions, however. The king claims to have doubts as well, but there is no way of knowing if what he speaks is the truth. Carlos claims to have no doubts. He fully believes he's in control, and that there is nothing to worry about ... and he fully believes he's protecting his sister by keeping her locked away in a secret room ... But how can that be? Genevieve completely believes that she is hidden, and there has not been much proof that convinces me to doubt her. The beast wouldn't have much use for her anyways, either ... would he? Unless he assumed she would become my confidant, my friend. He can get inside my head by influencing me to believe she can be trusted. That's why Carlos still keeps her cooped up. She's nothing but a trap. I let myself slump to the floor, overwhelming feelings flowing through me like a raging tsunami. It's hopeless. Absolutely hopeless. I finally look up when I hear the soft approach of footsteps. I recognize his neat shoes and the pattern of his stride immediately and compose myself the best I can before looking up. Husband, I greet him with a soft smile. Hun, what are you doing out here? He says, concerned. He kneels beside me, genuinely breaking my heart with the sound of his incredibly convincing tone. He touches my cheek gently. I don't know what to believe. I don't know what to believe ... I don't know what to believe. I don't flinch away from him and let him caress my face. I had a nightmare and went looking for you ... I couldn't find you, I whisper. Oh, I'm so sorry, Charlotte. He helps me up and starts to pull me back to the bed. I promise. Next time I'll be there for you. The Queen. After a sleepless night, I rise from bed long before Carlos showed any signs of waking from his slumber. While I feel terrible for sneaking away like this, I can't imagine there being any other way. I have to do this on my own. Without Carlos, without the king, without Genevieve. After dressing modestly, I tie back my long brown hair in a bun and throw a light blue scarf over my head. I didn't want to assume everyone in the village would recognize me. But the last thing I want is a run-in with my beloved stepmother and stepsisters, who apparently were never banished from the kingdom. I can't risk being recognized. I sneak down the hallway and down the long staircase to the ballroom below. A few guards stood at the front entrance, so I make a beeline for the back entrance. I would rather the prince not know of my whereabouts if possible, and the guards spotting me doesn't exactly increase that as a possibility. Unfortunately, to my dismay, I'm met with someone else the moment I fly out the back and into the garden. "Where's the fire?" Girl, a sharp, high-pitched voice shrills. I hated to be irritated by the voice, especially once I figured out that it could only be the Queen, the mother-in-law that I have still not properly been introduced to. I freeze in my tracks, sweat beating down my forehead in a panic. I know that she's the Queen, but in reality, she's nothing more than a spy for the beast. This is even more dire than having a run-in with the guards. My apologies, Your Majesty. I was just on my way for a morning stroll. I do awfully look forward to enjoying it by myself before the village wakes up. I look towards the ground dismissively as I speak. Excellent. Why don't you allow me to join you? The Queen instantly answers, to which I blush ruby red. Oh Lord, how will I possibly get anything done in this place without the beast watching my every move? No doubt, watching for any possible weakness that will make it easier to pin me beneath his thumb. It's starting to become quite obvious the sudden absence of my father is serving a more important purpose than what I initially thought. It is no longer a threat, it's a simple way of singling me out, making me defenseless with no one to turn to except my mind-controlled newfound family. Of course, Your Majesty, I curtly nod and walk forward through the garden at an appropriate pace. And I suppose you were looking forward to an enjoyable run around as your wolf, the Queen assumes. I guess that would be what she would assume. But the last thing on my mind is enjoying my newfound shifting ability. I just want to search for my father on my own, unobserved. I nod shyly. Yes, Your Majesty. Caroline, please, she corrects sternly before strolling towards the back forest behind the castle. So you must be Charlotte, mustn't you, she says, finally acknowledging my place here. Yes, Caroline. Good, she looks me up and down, briefly pausing in her walk. You're very modest. Pleasant-looking girl, she says after another painful pause. I bite my lip. I could feel sass rising up in me, but I know better than to give in to my compulsions right now. Thank you, Caroline. And my son, you have married him, she spouts without hesitation. I blush, utterly embarrassed, and divert my gaze quickly to the ground. How did you know? I have a certain ability to sense things sometimes. You, young lady, have grown up overnight compared to when I first saw you at that ball, hiding away in the corners, admiring our tapestry, rather than taking to the dance floor. Such a thing happens when a woman marries around here. The Queen says proudly. I furrow my brows but remain polite despite knowing the beast must have informed her of our tying of the knot. Her simply sensing it is ridiculous. My son is lucky to have you, she says randomly as we finally enter the bush. She glances at me silently, looking me over carefully. I sense many admirable things about you. Her words were leaving me baffled, but also a tad flattered. And she also stared at me as if she knew something I didn't. And that terrifies me. Is she leading me somewhere? I never wanted to go to the bush in the first place until she suggested it. Without further word, the Queen leaves me behind to shift in peace. I wait anxiously, part of me considering making a run for it. Though, when the beautiful white wolf appears from the bush, ushering me eagerly to follow her, I couldn't help but be encouraged to join her. Following after her shyly, I hide behind a tree and shimmy out of my dress before shifting. I nudge my dress into a safe place and trot after her, making sure to appear enthusiastic. The white wolf bolts, darting down a worn path, yipping and yapping. It was clear she had used this path many times, possibly even created it herself after years of running here. My heart warmed. Even if she is controlled by the beast and nothing but a pawn in his game, she is still living her life to fullest. At least he allows that. Or perhaps I am wrong about her. After all, I can't exactly trust the word of the king. The first can't trust the word of anyone except my own ... when I'm certain I remember correctly and have no gaps in my memory. I suppose I could go for a little run. Just a small one. Bond with the queen, chat with her as a daughter-in-law, and find out what she knows. Rotten egg. We run wordlessly for what feels like a mere few minutes. As it turns out, though, it was an entire hour of yipping and yapping at each other's heels. I could never have conceived that I would someday be such a playful little dog someday, but now I can only see it as a miraculous gift. A gift with a lot of inner torment, though, mind you. While the sun was up and the village was starting to wake up, I figured we would head back. I even paused and waited for the queen to indicate that playtime was over and it was time for us to return. I pray that she does ... just so I can run off and search without her breathing down my neck. Instead, she doesn't hesitate for a second, only merges deeper into the bush, deeper than I would ever dare alone. What is she doing? From the outside, it appeared she was taken over by some sort of scent and was following it impulsively. Is that any wise way of acting, though? What smell is worth being exposed by some woodsman lumbering around and spreading his scent? I tentatively follow her to at least get my own whiff. And boy, did I find one. I reel back immediately, completely terrified of the smell she was so hypnotized by. I want to scream at her to stay back, run for the hills with me. Something tells me she wouldn't listen even if I had a voice. So now I am left with two simple choices. Follow her and accompany her, or desert my own mother-in-law the first day I met her. Surely she knows what she's doing ... I have to believe this as I bound after her, my tail practically between my legs out of pure instinct. I have never faced absolutely anything with such a powerful scent. A deer is potentially the most exciting thing that I have ever come across. ... At least, that is true from what I remember. Oh no. The queen takes off at full speed once we reach a mysterious clearing in the middle of the woods. To my relief, I see nothing occupying it, but the scent still lingers. I stand on the outer edge of the little meadow, craning my neck to look at every corner for any movement. Nothing, 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 ... nothing there either ... but. My paws dig into the dirt dramatically and throw me back into urgent motion the second I see the gigantic creature. I make a run back from where we came, my heart pounding in panicked terror. I became aware immediately that the queen was not following me, but rather staying with the beast. I can't let him get near me. What will happen if he does? Will I even remember this encounter? Will this be my last moment of consciousness before I'm completely hypnotized by his scent as well? Why did I ever trust the queen? Of course, she didn't want to just waste her time with a little run with little, naive me. Only an idiot would assume there was not a secret, underlying agenda on her mind. I couldn't have been more of a fool. Inwardly cringing, I felt a helpless emotion rack my body in grief. My body convulsed and my eyes stung as I ran towards the tree, hiding my clothes. If this was my wolfy way of breaking down in sobs, it couldn't be more strange. I could see it in the distance, and I could also smell the faint trail of the scent lumbering behind me casually, as if he was not even worried about whether or not he could catch up to me. It was practically a given that I was already captured in his mind ... I can tell. I leap behind the tree and shift as fast as I possibly can. I have never been quicker, to be honest, and I am incredibly thankful. I throw my clothes in sloppily and make a run for the palace. I hated myself for trusting his embrace, but all I want right now is Carlos. I know he intentionally doesn't want to hurt me. He wants to be my knight in shining armor, no doubt, but this can't go on like this anymore. Something has to change. I rip my way through the garden and burst through the back doors. I am only greeted by the guards, who I speed past, only giving them a panicked look for them to get out of the way. Carlos is sitting at the dining table and I nearly run right past him. Charlotte. What's going on? He stands abruptly, confused worry plastered on his face. I rush to him without answering and throw myself into his arms. I don't have much time though, so I don't take the time to enjoy the feel of his arms around me. Gently, I push him backwards and sit him back in his chair. Leaning on each of his armrests, I trap him in the chair and look to him intensely. I am going to tell you something ... and I know I shouldn't, but I have to. I just have to trust that you will try and fight it, and that you will listen. I bite my lip in an attempt to hold back my tears, but he can see the horror-filled tears forming in my eyes. What's going on? Carlos stutters nervously. A growl erupts from the garden. The sound shakes me to my core, and I can't help but shake with fear, my knees barely holding me up. You have to fight it. Please, I whisper. The beast, he's controlling you. Everything has been a lie. He never let anyone free. It's the catch. There's always been a catch. I grab his chin in my palms, desperately pleading with his stunned state. He has been stealing your memories and replacing them with what he wants you to know. He's been speaking with you non-stop to get updates on me, so that he can control me too. But you don't remember those meetings, do you? Carlos stares back at me wide-eyed and does not even flinch away from my gaze as another growl vibrates through the floor. He's coming inside. How can I have any hope? It's far too late. You have to fight it. And you have to believe me. I sob as I feel someone from behind me drag me away from his grasp. Carlos stares in silence, absolutely frozen in shock. I would never lie to you. I would never, I shout through my tears. He looks to the ground, the last I see of him, holding his hands together in what appears to be sadness at the sight of me being dragged away to the dungeon by one of the guards. And I fear I may just be disposed of like a rotten egg that needs to be exchanged for a new batch. Most vulnerable. The cold cement couldn't have been a more terrible surface to lay upon. The coldness and dampness of it was unsettling, but the dread that filled the room was nearly worse. It was at least a few hours before a visitor came and spoke to me. I look up to see the king himself on his own. He peers down at me for a few minutes, shaking his head in pity. Girl, it is not wise to speak against the beast and expect no repercussion. Is that why you don't speak? I grumble quite fiercely in return. I suppose I see things differently. I don't choose to stand by and watch. That's nothing but cowardly, and I am no coward. Not anymore. I lean against the cold bars angrily, staring unflinchingly. And some would say ... idiotic, he says after a thoughtful pause. Stirring up matters you cannot fix is not exactly wise. Heroines aren't always wise, and they don't always succeed. Often they're shut up and sent away where they can't stir up anything else. You just never hear of it. The king is neutral, but I see a spark of pity in his eyes. Is that what you want from me? To be sent away, I ask coldly. Just because I saw what everyone else was too weak to see. No, you are officially married and have a consummated union with my son, as wished by the beast, the king concludes. But you can't continue working against the beast if this is going to work out, Charlotte. There isn't a universe where I would stop, I insist with gritted teeth. How do you intend on stopping me? If I wasn't mistaken, you were never even on the beast's side. Why would you want to? Right now I stand on whichever side ensures my family's survival, the king says sternly. And you will not mess with their safety. You truly believe it is out of the question for the beast to wipe out this entire kingdom and start from scratch? I would have that much of an impact on him, I say in a fake, doubtful voice. Surely he would just dispose of me and keep you all on your merry path. No, he won't dispose of you. That is the issue. The king leans closer to the bars. You're far too important. I scoff loudly, no longer caring of my demeanor around the king. You just said he would wipe out the kingdom? Wouldn't that include me? No, the king replies darkly. He will keep you. He has plans for you. I roll my eyes and turn away from him. Just tell me what is going to happen to me. You will meet with the beast, and then he will set you free. I will meet with the beast and willingly allow him to mind control me. You mean I whirl around to face him? I wonder if this all happened to you once. Rebelling only to fail miserably and be controlled at the end like everyone else before you, and be erased of any bad memory of the beast. He must be so entertained by this reoccurring cycle. I accidentally spit in his direction, to which he shoots me a look of disgust. Resist, if you will. But it won't work, he says before leaving without a further word. Can I at least see Carlos first? I screech after him. The king pauses. No, your words took quite the toll on him. I groan and fight against the bars helplessly before sitting back down on the hard, stone floors. Little did I know he was unconscious just a few cells away. After hours of silence, I finally close my dreary, heavy-lidded eyes, only to be immediately awakened by a loud clanging. Jumping to my feet only half awake, I fall forward into the bars and use them to hold me up. "W, who's there?" Charlotte, my husband's weak, husky voice echoes from my left side. I swore I wouldn't have heard him if it wasn't for the echo off of the stone, dungeon walls. "They locked their own prince down here? Why would they do that?" I growl and hear a soft chuckle from Carlos. "You're chuckling at a time like this," I screech. "No, I suppose I'm just in shock," he mumbles half-heartedly. I'm trying to make light of things. I could picture him shrugging his shoulders sloppily. I wrinkle my forehead sympathetically. "I know, you're too sweet," and he truly is. I can't believe he let himself get in another cell beside me just for me. He could have denied everything I said, but instead he stands by me. "I guess I should be thanking you," I say as casually as I can. "No, that is completely unnecessary," he scoffs. "What insane person wouldn't believe those depserate ... adorable green eyes," he whispers softly. His voice pleases me, and I suddenly wish for his arms around my waist, hugging my head comfortably into his chest. "You don't like me saying things like that," he says, knocking me out of my daze. "No, it's just that I can't ... stand it." Can't stand what? Being apart like this in a mess like this. I feel like I'm in some ridiculous fairy tale with an unnecessary conflict. I roll my eyes, the disgust evident in my voice. He hums sadly and shifts his feet. I just feel so terrible. My own sob cuts off the remainder of my sentence. Don't, he protests, grabbing the bars in front of him harshly. "I can't have you feeling that way. We have to stay sharp at a time like this." "And do what?" "Beat the beast, Charlotte," he says obliviously. I shake my head. "No, that's not what we are going to do. We are going to lay low and do as we're told. We want to stay together, don't we?" My voice stays strict, and I sense the hurt they are inflicting on him, but the words must be said. They know locking him up just a few cells down from me would bring out my intentions. It was no coincidence they placed him here with me. They know that I trust him ... or at least depserately want to trust him. I ran up to him screaming insane claims. I hoped he would understand. But no, I can't open up to him. I have to do this on my own. They won't even catch me at my most vulnerable, in a dungeon, and all alone. The end of you. Carlos stayed quiet and slept after our little conversation. Instead of sleep, I chose to sit quietly, partly praying that he believed me when I said that I was essentially surrendering peacefully. I'm sure the beast will know soon enough that that is what Carlos believes, if not already. They'll set me free, hopefully, letting us continue the way things were before my delirious scream for my own husband's help ... And I am looking forward to escaping when they least suspect it ... Though my heart has never hurt more. Part of me wonders obsessive if Carlos truly believed me, or was just planted here to find out information on the beast's behalf. Part of me can't stop thinking about whether or not his offer to kill of the beast with me was genuine or just a ploy to trick me. I don't even know if he loves me. How could he? He hasn't even been a free person for years or possibly his entire life. The biggest question is whether or not there even is a Carlos in there, or if he is simply a puppet like all the rest of them, just as I may become a puppet. The idea is horrifying. They won't take me alive. I don't care how hard they try to pry their way into my head. I don't care if they force me to meet with the beast, and he looks me in the eyes with all the force in the world, trying to control me and take over my mind. It won't work. I won't let it work. But most of me feels so tirelessly foolish, thinking that the simple superpower of stubbornness will save me from his mind control. Surely someone has tried that before. I can't be the first rebel he had to force through the process, and I won't be last unless I do something. I can submit, run away, and save myself, or desperately try to find a way to take him down once and for all. It's simply a matter of deciding what role I want to play in my own novel. I roll my eyes at the thought. So much book reading has corrupted my realism. There's no way I can take down a practical god ... he's starting to feel just as powerful as one. A creator of this entire village anyways. And this kingdom. Mind control. Super size and super strength, no doubt. What power do I possibly possess? Nothing. I stare at the cold cement wall as the sadness overcomes sadness and utter hopelessness. It feels like one of those terrible moments when the reality finally hits you. You are just a tiny little being in a big, big world that controls itself. You don't have any control over it, nor any power to change it. There is no altering what is too big to possibly attempt changing. After a while, I finally begin to drift for what might have been 15 minutes at most, only to awake to the booming quake of massive feet stomping down the stone floor. I can practically hear it cracking beneath the monster's weight. Just as my heart tremors with the same force. Carlos shifts in his cell as I curl up in the farthest corner. A tremor of fear convulses through me as my eyes turn up to meet with the glaring, slitted eyes of the beast himself, even more fearsome than I imagined. I wonder if he will allow me to remember this moment. Charlotte, his deep voice grunts, distaste evident in his tone. You're the troublemaker of the century, aren't you? If you call fighting for basic human rights troublesome, I answer stubbornly but nervously. He scoffs in fake amusement. Unbelievable. Human rights are something one loses when they lose the right to call themselves that. He shakes his head. That ship has sailed, little, foolish one. I nearly growl, but that would only add to his claim that I was now inhuman. Which is true. My first instinct is to pounce on him and rip out his throat, despite knowing I would never succeed. You, little one, are going to submit yourself to my rule. You are going to follow what is required of you and keep your little mouth shut. You will do your duty and earn your freedom like everyone else. He leans nice and close the bars as I lean against the cold wall behind me. I am no monster. I will release you, and your beloved for you to have a pleasant and free existence for all eternity if you wish. All you have to do is serve me until I am done with you. 50 years is all I ask for eternal happiness to follow. He smiles menacingly, as if there was no better deal that could be offered. Are you so idiotic to believe that we still believe you will let us go? You're still spinning that rash claim, I growl defiantly. You don't set us free. You only use us elsewhere doing who knows what. You sick freak. What else do you have up your sleeve? What else is waiting for us beyond our time here? Slavery? Breeding? Come on. There has to be something. An eternity of freedom is far too generous for you to give in return for a measly 50 years, I sneer. He peers down at me in annoyance. Watch your words, foul, little, useless girl. I run up to the bars, my rational mind long gone and my protective mind taking over. I cannot rely on Carlos to take my side and save me. I can't even hate him for being vulnerable. He was raised into this terrible tradition, brainwashed from the very beginning of childhood for all I know. No one but me can save myself, and him. And oh, I have never felt so viciously protective over anyone. I grip the cold bars as the beast growls down at me, baring his massive teeth. I only lean closer as he attempts to intimidate me. And from there, the words only fly out of my mouth. I will be the last rebel you will face, tyrant, I growl. I will be the end of you, and I will rip out your throat. He backs away, nearly smiling at my threat. He reaches towards me with one claw-like hand until it was nearly an inch from my face. I wait, my heart pounding angrily in anticipation of his retaliation. He snaps his fingers, causing the blackness to take kill you. I awake in my own bed, dazed and confused, absolutely flustered to put it mildly. I wake up gasping for air, only pausing to catch my breath for a mere second before swirling my eyes around the room, checking for any clue that I was still in danger, and see nothing but my regular surrounds. Nothing out of place whatsoever. My chest aches, my throat aches as if I was choked unconscious rather than overtaken simply by the snap of the beast's fingers. Finally, at the side of my bed, I see some fresh bread and water laid out for me to consume. Seemingly famished, I jerk my body towards only to find myself chained to my own bed. Squealing angrily, I fight against the chains, battling against them relentlessly until the door flies open. Terrified by the sudden entrance, I throw myself back to where I was and pull the covers over top of me. It's only me, sweetheart, Carlos assures me quickly, rushing up to the bed and shoving the table with my water and bread closer to me. I shakily reach for the food and chow down quietly without making eye contact with my husband. I still don't know where things stand trust-wise. He watches attentively as if speechless. I wouldn't blame him if that were the case. I wouldn't quite know what to say either. I know everything he suddenly blurts, causing me to drop my bread into the blankets. What? I figured it out, Charlotte, he says earnestly. I pause, taking in his words carefully. I try my best to conceive what he claimed, but I couldn't quite grasp his words as the complete truth. It's too good to be true once again. I don't think that's possible, I murmur unhappily. Things are impossible. No, they're not, Carlos desperately encourages, taking both of my hands in his. You've brought things to light, sweetheart. I finally realize what's been happening right in front of my face, he whispers excitedly. But the beast's control. How do I remember what happened? How do you even remember, I stutter out in disbelief? I thought that I would wake up absolutely clueless and even more helpless than before. Tears stream down my face, barely enabling me to contain my sobs. I thought it was all over. All over with the snap of his beastly claws. But I've been saved. How? How is this possible, I whisper hoarsely, my throat still sore. Maybe we're evolving, sweetheart, he lightly smirks and cups my face. Or maybe we're just so damn stubborn we can't let this continue this way, he looks down almost in embarrassment. Or maybe I've had the resistance in me all along, and now I've finally found a true reason to fight. His green eyes spark as they aim themselves at me. I blush ruby red once again, but decide on shaking my head in denial. No, there has to be more to it than that. Simple stubbornness can't defeat the will of a practical God, I force him to face me. Are you telling me that he intended to make me forget you and I both, and it didn't work? He pauses, open-mouthed and stunned. Tell me, I grab his cheekbones between my handcuffed hands. No, he admits. You wouldn't still be handcuffed if that were the case. Then what is happening, I screech. He attempted. Carlos trails off quietly. Gosh damn it. Carlos, tell me or I'll kill you, I scream in frustration. He gawks and stands away from me. He attempted to kill you, okay, kill you and erase my memory so he can choose another bride for me. My jaw drops in shock and I rip up my hands, still confined by the cuffs. What? It doesn't matter. He failed, Carlos yells back at me before silencing himself quickly. He rips open the door and looks both the way down the hall before continuing. I watch, absolutely bewildered, unable to say anything or do anything except stare in disbelief. He comes back, holding out his hands reassuringly. He made a mistake. He entrusted me with the duty of killing you myself, he shrugs uncomfortably. As a punishment. I grimace and stare down at my sweating hands. I can't go anywhere safely anymore, can I? No, he says quietly. We have to leave immediately as soon as you feed yourself. I look up tear-eyed. W.E. He nods solemnly. Of course. I shiver and shake my head, still overwhelmed. What have I done for my life to come down to this? Carlos shakes his head and kneels beside me. You've been given more than you think. You will see once we're victorious, sweetheart. Victorious and together. I only sob. Such a hopeless dream that is. You're better off throwing me away and returning safely under the beast's rule. He doesn't know you have betrayed him, yet I push him away. You should save yourself and I'll just disappear. Go to another kingdom and leave it all behind me. Mind my own damn business for a change. I don't want you to mind your own business, Carlos responds stubbornly. And, most importantly, I don't want to lose you of all things, especially if my kingdom is still stuck in the beast's hands. Nothing about this place calls to me if that is the case. I would rather be with you. You barely know me, I dismiss him. True, but for the first time I have been strong enough to reject the beast's command because I couldn't stand to kill you. He clenched his fist, grabbing my attention. That's how I know how important you are to me and everyone else I care about in this place. You were worth enough to risk my life for you. He folds my hand in his, grubbing it desperately. Please tell me you feel the same way, that you'll fight this with me. I hesitate but find myself soothed by his words. Carlos helping me can't be any worse than what he's already done. He's likely to be found out as a traitor later on anyhow, when he attempts to take on things himself. I am as good as dead already. I may as well die doing what I believe in. Finally becoming the knight in shining armor I never could be before. Just the thought of it warms my heart. Yes, I say quietly. Let's escape through Genevieve's window and take her with us, I suggest, fully hoping Genevieve isn't touched by the beast after all, as I've previously suspected her of. Carlos beams, genuinely happy. Thank you, he kisses my hand gently. Now, gain your strength and pack your things when you can. Then, we shall be out of here, my dear wife. He pecks my lips and stands, smiling at first. I can't help but notice the faltering of his smile. What is it you aren't telling me? He sighed sadly. I may be able to resist the beast's command for now. I may need Genevieve's help down the road. I don't know how long I'll be able to hold on. I gasp. You mean? Yes, he confirms. Even though I love you, need you, and my entire self wants nothing to do with hurting you, he meets my eyes in shame. I still have the unshakable urge to kill you. Escape. Despite Carlos's confession, I still need to escape with him. Now. I pack in a matter of minutes before Carlos ushers me to leave out of the window, not even bothering to attempt leaving through either the front or the back entrance of the palace. I said goodbye to my fancy dresses, sad to leave them behind with the possibility in mind that I will never wear them again, not that they were ever so important. Can you blame me? I'm abandoning the princess life every girl dreams of, and I achieved ... maliciously forced into, but that's not a detail that need be mentioned. How do you suggest we leave out of this window? I groan, looking down at the daunting drop before me. The palace is not forgiving in its structure, providing us with nothing to climb down or barely a ledge to step on. Bed linens, Carlos shrugs, tugging them off the bed aggressively. We'll tie them together and it will give us a start. I stare at him blankly, so I'll just climb down it and dangle there. Carlos sighs in exasperation. I've never done anything like this before, Charlotte. What do you want from me? I shake my head and grab my bags. We're going to your sister's room. She goes in and out without being seen, doesn't she? Carlos considers this, but I leave without waiting for his response. He shrieks in panic as I sneak the door open, avoiding its creaky nature just by a smidge. As long as her mind is safe, she will come with us. Carlos follows behind me as I storm down the hallway on light feet. He doesn't speak a word until we've already barged into his sister's room without knocking. Genevieve squeals in surprise before having her mouth covered by her brother's palm. Shh, he hushes her. We're leaving. Genevieve looks wildly at us both until Carlos peels his hand off of her. What's going on? Things have gone sour, I murmur sadly. I can't even bring myself to explain everything to her. The beast is more in control of us than I thought, and we need your help. He wants Charlotte dead so that he can start me over with a new bride, Carlos quietly explains to her. He charged me with killing her myself as a partial punishment, but I was able to resist ... It's a secret for now, but not for long. Genevieve gasps but doesn't hesitate to move into action. I thought this day would come, brother, she mutters under her breath, clearly disappointed. I just wish you would have come to your senses earlier to protect your bride, she exclaims in a hushed voice. My eyes widen, but I don't step in as the siblings begin to bicker. What's that supposed to mean? Have you known something this whole time but never bothered to tell me? Carlos stutters angrily. It was the first time I had heard his tone come out in such a way ... and I can't deny it was stirring up some feelings in the pit of my stomach. Oh, shush, I can't think of such things right now. Okay, how are we getting out of here? I interrupt them both. And are you coming with us, Genevieve? She nods sincerely. We'll leave through the window. I have a rope, stored here just for this situation. I nod. You're telling your brother what you know as soon as we're in the clear. Genevieve seems surprised by my forwardness but makes no reply. Instead, she flees to one of her small closets and unravels a long rope. She ties it sternly to her bedpost, not knowing what other object would suffice. Get down first, Carlos, so you can catch your wife on the way down, she orders him, big sister-like. I hide a smile and watch my uncertain husband approach the rope. Scared of heights, I mock him with a light smile. He frowns, but I know he senses my joking tone. See you on the other side, love. Genevieve smirks. Oh, you two are too much. Now hurry, she nearly shoves him out of the window. He grunts and travels down the length of the rope as fluently as possible for someone who has never done such a thing. I nearly laugh at him until I realize it's my turn to be nearly pushed out the window. Never being too terrified of heights too terribly before, I expected it to be easier than it was, but somehow reality was just beginning to smack me in the face. I am fleeing for my life. If I mess up, it's over. Sweat pours down my forehead as the sun beats directly on me. What am I doing? I have nothing. I have brought nothing with me, and I still do not trust the two individuals with me 100%. I am still horribly worried about them betraying me against their will. I hang from the rope and peer down at my still oblivious husband. He will catch me if I fall, I know, but will he carry me through so that my life is saved? I let the rope slip through my hands, foolishly letting the material scratch its way across my hands. But I didn't care. Carlos furrows his brow. Are you okay? I look down at him from 2 stories up. Yes. He shakes his head and holds out his arms invitingly. Jump. Don't suffer the rest of the while down. I hesitate, but he keeps urging me to, and finally, when Genevieve shrieks her opinion, I let go, panicking for a second before I land with a soft thud in his arms. I close my eyes as I relish in the feeling of his biceps cushioning me. My head nestles into his chest softly for a few moments before I know reality will have to return. The reality that I do not know for certain that I have many days left. He softly pushes aside my bangs out of my face. Everything is going to be okay, sweetheart, he speaks into my ear. I will stand by your side until the very end, my dear Charlotte. I bite my lip and let him stand me to my feet as Genevieve reaches the ground all on her own. She lets us have one more second before uttering her next command. Now, we go into the village. Terror in the village. The village was buzzing with commotion. The prince has been reported missing, as expected, and he can't be seen. Ducking through the streets was never something that Carlos had ever done before, and it's been quite amusing to watch him try for the first time. Amusing is perhaps the wrong word. It would be amusing if this were a different situation, but it isn't. Thankfully, the sun is falling from the sky and the darkness will be our friend tonight. As long as we make it out of here in time. They are bound to have noticed that there wasn't a body left behind, that I wasn't killed. I was spared. Perhaps they even tore down Genevieve's wall and found her hidden bedroom. Perhaps Carlos' parents will even face punishment for losing track of their escaped daughter. The beast is guaranteed to have a temper after all this mess, and they'd be the easiest target. I don't point out this possibility to either Carlos or Genevieve. The first reason being Carlos can't hand more on his conscience. The second reason being I have a feeling Genevieve already knows, and that is why she so silently trudges ahead, not pausing to catch her breath once as we fly through the village, unwilling to stop for anything. Where will we go, I have to finally ask. The uncertainty is weighing on my head too heavily. I know a place. Our aunt once fled there. Carlos. Genevieve finally speaks to her brother. He continues on wordlessly. I'm sure he's not pleased to know he has had family in danger like this before, and they left him and the rest of his family behind. I know exactly what he's thinking, as if we're connected somehow. What kind of coward would leave and save herself but not her family? At least Genevieve stayed behind to watch over him instead of running to a place she clearly knew existed. How safe is it there? Does the beast not know of it? I fill the silence as we finally catch sight of the forest ahead. Yes, Genevieve says simply. He doesn't stray far unless he knows exactly where we're headed. This particular path will make it nearly impossible to track us if we're careful. Carlos still says absolutely nothing, a silent killer for his sister. Carlos, she hisses, stopping us all in our tracks. I am sorry I never told you, but now is not the time to be holding on to that grudge. He hisses back angrily. And this is not the time to confront me about it in the middle of the street. We don't have time to spare, and we can't risk drawing attention to ourselves, you idiot. He continues on without her, me stuck in the middle of their squabble. I want to rip my hair out. Carlos is right, I say softly to Genevieve. We have to get out of her first and foremost. Stay out of it, please. I don't want to snap at you too, she says, refusing to look at me with crossed arms. She is clearly waiting for her brother to turn back. I shake my head and nearly follow him, assuming she will have to keep going eventually. But I can't get over the fact that she is being so foolish at a time like this. That isn't like her. Unless. Carlos, I scream after him. Run. He listens to me, thank goodness, bolting the second the words come out of my mouth. I sprint as well, looking straight ahead at the forest. The second I get there, I can shift and sprint even faster. I don't know what path Genevieve spoke of, but running will have to do. The beast must have discovered her anyway. It's too late for her now. Carlos quickly looks back to make sure I am keeping up. I send him a breathless nod. I will keep up if it kills me. Today can't be the day that I die, and I'm not letting him die either. To my horror, Carlos looks back a second time, his eyes red and wide with shock. I can't help but look back to see the doom behind us. I had expected the beast to track us, yes, but our main weapon to conceal ourselves until we could get to the forest was the village. The beast doesn't allow humans to see him and never comes into the village in broad daylight when the humans aren't in for the night. We had assumed today wouldn't be any different. But we were so terribly wrong. The sight hits me directly in the heart, wounding me terribly enough to cause me to lose my footing. Even if I wasn't clumsy, I was already on my way to the ground by the time I saw what had happened behind us. Genevieve did not follow. Yes, the beast had discovered her bedroom. Yes, he had gotten to her. And yes, she was meant to delay us with some pitiful fight against Carlos, which I think a part of him knew, but none of us could really bear the thought of it being true. And both Carlos and I had seen it. As I hit the ground, my nails dig into the dirt, my grief taking over my body. I cannot even bring myself to weep. My body is too in shock for that. Before I have the strength to get up, strong arms thrust me back into the air. Come on, we can't stop, Carlos says weakly. We can't have the same fate. Not after everything. I'm sorry, I sob, my legs wobbling beneath me. If we don't make it. I love you, I assure him. Even after everything. Even if you want to kill me, the words stung as they came out. They might be my last after all. No, Carlos kisses my forehead. Don't let yourself get caught. Run with me. Please, he says desperately. And as I look to him, I finally realize it had begun to rain on the two of us. The gloomy weather couldn't have matched the state of my hope any more perfectly. You've exposed the beast for what he is. Now let me save you, Carlos finally concludes, throwing me back into his arms, and begins to run. And I can't help but look over his shoulder once more. Genevieve lay beneath the front paws of the menacing beast, her blood dripping from his lips. He watches us flee as the humans pelt rocks at the giant creature with terrified tears in their eyes. The humans will draw their swords and hold him off, but I know he won't be far behind soon enough. He'll make sure we share the same fate as our fallen sister, even if he has to slaughter every single person in the village to get to us. Goodbye, Genevieve, I whisper.